What happens when fame is not enough to cross a border? For most celebrities, America is the dream. Tours, interviews, red carpets, million-dollar deals, and screaming fans waiting at the airport. But for these British stars and public figures, the United States became a locked door. Some were stopped over criminal records, some were blocked by politics, others were caught in visa storms that damaged careers overnight. From singers to boxers, writers, chefs, and controversial public figures, these are the British names America banned, blocked, or refused entry. Carrie Johnson. Carrie Johnson's case is not the usual celebrity scandal, and that is exactly what makes it so strange. She was not a rock star caught in a hotel disaster, not an actor with a criminal conviction, and not a performer dragged into a drug controversy. She was known as a British media figure and the wife of former Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Yet her name appeared in connection with a U.S. travel problem that shows how even political-adjacent fame does not protect someone from strict border rules. The reported issue centered on travel history. Carrie Johnson had visited Somaliland, a self-declared independent region that the United States treats as part of Somalia. Under U.S. travel authorization rules, certain visits to Somalia can create complications for people trying to use ESTA, the visa waiver system many British travelers rely on. That means a trip that may look harmless on a personal passport can suddenly become a serious problem when American immigration systems review it. This entry fits the list because it shows a quieter kind of border drama. No courtroom spectacle. No screaming headlines at an airport gate. Just one travel history detail that reportedly turned into a barrier. For viewers, it is a reminder that America's entry rules are not only about fame, status, or public image. Sometimes, the smallest stamp in a passport can become the biggest problem. Mark Thatcher. Mark Thatcher was never a Hollywood actor or a chart-topping singer, but his name carried heavy public recognition because of one powerful connection. He was the son of former British Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. In Britain, that surname alone made him a headline magnet. But in America's eyes, fame and family legacy were not enough to erase the shadow of a serious international scandal. His U.S. visa trouble was linked to his conviction in South Africa, connected to the 2004 Equatorial Guinea coup attempt. Thatcher admitted to helping finance an aircraft, though he denied knowing it would be used in a coup plot. The case still followed him internationally, and according to reports, it created serious problems when he tried to enter the United States. What makes Mark Thatcher's entry so gripping is the contrast. He came from one of Britain's most famous political families, surrounded by privilege, power, and global access. Yet the American border treated the case as a legal and security matter, not a family name issue. That is why he belongs here. His story is not celebrity gossip in the usual sense. It is the story of how a famous British surname collided with U.S. immigration consequences. By placing him low on the list, we are clear. He is more of a public figure than an entertainer. But his case is strong because the reason behind it is dramatic, international, and serious. Tommy Robinson. Tommy Robinson is one of the most controversial British public figures of the modern era. To supporters, he is a political activist. To critics, he is a far-right agitator who built his fame through confrontation, street politics, and online outrage. But long before social media made every border incident into instant news, Robinson's U.S. travel problems became part of his public record. The key issue connected to America was not simply his speeches or his politics. It was a passport case. Robinson pleaded guilty in the United Kingdom after using someone else's passport to travel to the United States. That kind of conviction is exactly the sort of thing that can create serious immigration consequences. For U.S. border officials, identity documents are not a small technicality. They are the foundation of entry control. This is why his case fits the theme. It is not just about being disliked or controversial. It is about a public figure whose attempt to enter America became tied to a criminal conviction involving travel documents. That gives the story a hard legal edge. Robinson is not a traditional celebrity like a singer or actor, so he should not rank higher than the entertainment names. But he is undeniably a known British figure, and his U.S. entry issue carries the kind of tension that keeps viewers watching. His story is a warning. Controversy might get attention, but passport trouble can close doors. Sean Atwood. Sean Atwood's story sounds like it was built for a crime documentary. He was a British man who moved to America, entered the nightclub and rave scene, became involved in ecstasy distribution, and eventually found himself inside one of the most notorious jail systems in the United States. Today, Many people know him as a YouTuber, author, and storyteller. But before reinvention came the kind of past that American immigration does not easily forget. Atwood served time in Arizona after pleading guilty in a major drug-related case. His experience in jail became central to his later public identity. He wrote about prison life, corruption, survival, and the dark side of the American justice system. But when he returned to the United Kingdom, the U.S. door was effectively shut behind him. His case is often described as a lifetime ban from entering the United States. This entry is one of the strongest fits for the title because it connects fame, crime, imprisonment, and long-term exclusion. Unlike some names on this list, where the ban was temporary or later lifted, Atwood's case has a much more permanent feel. What makes his story powerful is the transformation. He went from British party scene figure to convicted drug offender, then to a YouTube personality discussing crime and prison. But America, the place where his story exploded, became the one place he could not freely return to. Sebastian Horsley. Sebastian Horsley was the kind of British figure who almost seemed designed to shock polite society. He was an artist, writer, dandy, provocateur, and self-mythologist. His public image was built around excess, confession, decadence, and danger. In Britain, that made him fascinating. In America, it helped get him stopped. His U.S. entry problem became famous when he was refused entry at Newark Airport. The reported reason was moral turpitude, a broad immigration concept that can involve behavior seen as seriously immoral under U.S. law. Horsley's own writings and public statements about drugs, prostitution, and extreme personal experiences reportedly worked against him. In other words, the persona that made him interesting in the literary world may have made him unacceptable at the border. This is one of the strangest entries because it raises a sharp question. Can a person's own art, writing, and public confessions become evidence against them? Horsley had built a career from turning his life into spectacle. But American immigration officials were not reading him like an audience. They were reading him like a risk file. He fits this list because his case is not about mainstream celebrity. It is about notoriety. He was famous in a darker, more underground way, and that made his airport rejection feel almost like the final performance of his own dangerous image. Kyle Falconer. Kyle Falconer, the lead singer of the Scottish band The View, brought a very different kind of story to this list. He was not a global tabloid giant like Amy Winehouse, and he was not a political lightning rod like Tommy Robinson. But in the world of British indie rock, Falconer had a real following. His voice, energy, and rough-edged image helped define The View's chaotic charm. His U.S. entry problem was reportedly linked to a drug-related conviction in the United Kingdom. For musicians, this kind of issue can be disastrous. A U.S. tour is not just a vacation. It means venues, contracts, promoters, crews, fans, press coverage, and serious money. When a visa problem hits, it can damage an entire campaign. Falconer's case stands out because it shows how American immigration rules can disrupt a band at exactly the moment it needs momentum. Rock music has always sold rebellion, but border authorities are not impressed by rebellious branding. They look at records, applications, eligibility, and risk. His ban was reportedly lifted later, which means this should not be framed as permanent. But for the purpose of the video, he absolutely fits the blocked or refused entry angle. His story is about how one past conviction can follow a performer across the Atlantic and turn a career opportunity into a closed gate. Bob Vylan. Bob Vylan's case is one of the most modern entries on this list, and it shows how quickly a performance can turn into an international travel problem. The British punk rap duo built their reputation on anger, politics, raw sound, and confrontation. Their music was never designed to be polite background noise. It was meant to provoke. But after a controversial chant at Glastonbury, the fallout moved far beyond the festival field. According to the source list, Bob Vylan's U.S. visa status became a major issue after the chant, "Death, death to the IDF." The phrase triggered international backlash, political condemnation, and serious consequences for their ability to perform in America. In today's world, a stage moment does not stay on stage. It travels through clips, headlines, government statements, and immigration decisions. This entry fits the list because it is not about a decades-old conviction or a forgotten scandal. It is about the modern age, where artists can face border consequences almost instantly after a public controversy. The case also shows how America treats certain political speech, especially when it becomes connected to security concerns or diplomatic pressure. Bob Vylan may not be a household name for every viewer, but their case has the shock factor a countdown needs. It proves that in the streaming era, one chant can cross the ocean faster than the artist does. Nigella Lawson. Nigella Lawson's case shocked people because her public image was so different from the usual banned celebrity stereotype. She was not known as a reckless rock star or a violent public figure. She was the elegant British TV chef with a warm voice, luxurious recipes, best-selling books, and a calm presence that made viewers feel invited into her kitchen. That is why her US entry issue became such a major headline. The problem came after drug-related admissions emerged during a highly publicized legal and personal controversy in the United Kingdom. Even without a criminal conviction in the United States, those admissions reportedly created complications when she tried to travel to America. She was blocked from boarding a flight to the US, creating an embarrassing international moment for one of Britain's most recognizable television personalities. What makes this entry powerful is the image contrast. Nigella was not selling danger. She was selling comfort, food, beauty, and domestic glamour. Yet a private life scandal suddenly reached the border and disrupted her public career. Her case was later resolved, so it should not be described as a permanent ban. But it fits perfectly under blocked or refused entry. It reminds viewers that American immigration scrutiny does not only target wild performers or political radicals. Sometimes, even a beloved celebrity chef can find that one personal admission is enough to stop the journey. Emph Doom. Emph Doom's story is one of the most emotionally complicated cases on this list. To hip-hop fans, he was a genius. Masked, mysterious, lyrical, and unlike anyone else. Born Daniel Dumile in London, he moved to the United States as a child and built his artistic identity there. America was where his music grew, where his legend formed, and where his influence became massive. But legally, his connection to the US was far more fragile than many fans realized. After traveling abroad, MF Doom was denied re-entry to the United States. The issue reportedly involved his immigration status and whether he could prove long-term lawful ties to the country. For fans, it was shocking. How could an artist who had grown up in America, shaped American underground hip-hop, and become part of its culture, suddenly be unable to return? This entry belongs high on the list because it is not just about scandal. It is about identity. Emph Doom was British-born, American-raised, and globally loved, yet the border treated him through paperwork and legal status rather than cultural belonging. His case gave his later years a sense of exile. For many fans, it added another layer of sadness and mystery to an already mythical career. America helped create Emph Doom's legend, but in the end, America also became the country he could not easily re-enter. MIA. MIA built her career on fearless sound and fearless politics. Born in London to Sri Lankan Tamil parents, she became one of Britain's most original pop rebels: rapper, singer, producer, visual artist, and provocateur. Her music mixed club beats, global rhythms, refugee identity, war imagery, and political anger. That made her exciting to fans, and controversial to authorities. Her US visa problems were reportedly linked to political concerns, including alleged associations connected to Sri Lankan Tamil movements. For an artist like MIA, that created a powerful tension. Her entire public identity was built on speaking about displacement, conflict, state violence, and immigrant experience. But those same themes also placed her under scrutiny when she tried to move through international systems. This case fits the title because her ability to work in America was seriously affected. In entertainment, visa access is not a small issue. It determines tours, festivals, collaborations, awards appearances, and career momentum. A blocked visa can silence an artist in one of the world's biggest music markets. MIA's ban was later lifted, so the script should never call it permanent. But her story is one of the strongest examples of a British celebrity whose politics and public identity collided with US entry rules. She did not just face a travel problem, she became a symbol of how art, activism, and immigration can crash into each other. Boy George. Boy George was one of the most recognizable British pop stars of the 1980s. With Culture Club, he became a global icon: bold makeup, unforgettable voice, and a style that challenged pop culture's rules. Songs like "Do You Really Want to Hurt Me" made him famous across the world, including in America. But decades after his first wave of success, US entry problems threatened his ability to perform for American fans. His visa trouble was tied to criminal convictions, including legal issues in both the United States and the United Kingdom. When he tried to tour North America, American authorities refused him a visa, forcing plans to collapse. For a performer, that kind of refusal is not just paperwork. It can mean canceled shows, lost revenue, disappointed fans, and a public reminder that past actions still carry consequences. Boy George's story works so well in this countdown because of the contrast between glamour and restriction. He had already conquered American pop culture once. He had been on American television, American radio, and American stages. Yet later, that same country could still say no. His case was eventually resolved, which means it was not permanent. But it remains one of the most headline-friendly British celebrity entry cases. It shows that even a pop legend can find himself reduced to one brutal question: will the border let him in? Pete Doherty. Pete Doherty's entire public image has always carried a sense of chaos. As the frontman of the Libertines and Baby Shambles, he became one of British rock's most fascinating and troubled figures. His music had poetry, danger, romance, and ruin all tangled together. But his repeated drug-related arrests and convictions made him exactly the kind of celebrity American border authorities could view with suspicion. In 2010, Doherty was reportedly refused entry at JFK Airport in New York after being detained for hours, despite having a visa. He was sent back to London before a scheduled performance. For fans waiting to see him, it was another dramatic chapter in a career already full of missed chances and public meltdowns. This entry fits perfectly because it has every element a YouTube audience responds to: a troubled rock star, airport detention, a canceled appearance, and the feeling that fame could not save him. Doherty had built a reputation as someone who lived too close to the edge, and at the American border, that reputation seemed to catch up with him. What makes the story even more powerful is that Doherty's talent was never really the question. The question was whether his past made him too risky to admit. In the mythology of British rock, Pete Doherty is a symbol of beautiful disorder. In the eyes of immigration officials, disorder can become a reason to shut the gate. Yusuf Islam/Cat Stevens. Yusuf Islam, known to millions as Cat Stevens, is one of the most surprising names ever connected to a U.S. entry controversy. In the 1970s, he was a beloved singer-songwriter, the voice behind gentle classics that became part of global music history. His songs were emotional, spiritual, and deeply human. But decades later, his name became linked to a very different kind of headline. In 2004, he was on a flight to the United States when the plane was diverted. He was denied entry and sent back to Britain after authorities connected his name to security concerns. For fans who knew him through peaceful songs and reflective lyrics, the situation felt almost unreal. How could the man behind such warm, introspective music be treated as a possible security issue? This case belongs near the top, because it was dramatic, public, and internationally discussed. It was not simply a visa delay or a quiet embassy refusal. It involved an actual flight diversion, government attention, and a huge debate over watch lists, mistaken identity, and post-9/11 security measures. The ban was later resolved, and he returned to the United States. But the moment remains unforgettable. Cat Stevens' story shows how quickly a beloved cultural figure can be transformed, at least temporarily, from musician to immigration controversy. It was one of the most shocking U.S. entry incidents involving a British celebrity. Amy Winehouse. Amy Winehouse's U.S. visa controversy became one of the saddest celebrity travel stories of the 2000 era. She was not just another British singer. She was a once-in-a-generation voice, raw and wounded, with a sound that pulled jazz, soul, and heartbreak into modern pop. By the time the Grammys arrived, America was ready to celebrate her. But instead of walking the red carpet in person, Amy was stuck thousands of miles away. Her U.S. visa application was rejected, amid drug and assault-related legal issues in the United Kingdom. The timing was brutal. She was nominated for major Grammy Awards, and the world expected a dramatic American arrival. Instead, she performed by satellite from London. The image became unforgettable. Amy singing from afar, while America honored her from a distance. This entry deserves to be near the top, because the emotional stakes were huge. Her talent was undeniable. Her career was exploding globally. But her personal struggles had become impossible for the border system to ignore. Amy did eventually receive permission connected to later travel, so this should not be framed as a permanent ban. But for one of the biggest nights of her career, the United States was a locked door. That is what makes this story so powerful. America wanted her music. The Grammys wanted her presence. The fans wanted the moment. But the visa decision kept her away. Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury takes the #1 spot because his case involves fame, money, sport, controversy, and one of the biggest entertainment markets in the world. Fury is not just a British boxer. He is a heavyweight champion, a showman, a comeback story, and a celebrity whose fights can generate global attention. When Tyson Fury moves, boxing media follows. But even a world champion can run into a border problem bigger than his public image. Fury was reportedly refused entry to the United States in connection with alleged links to Daniel Kinahan, the Irish boxing promoter accused by U.S. authorities of involvement in organized crime. Fury denied wrongdoing and has often pushed back against negative claims. But in immigration matters, the issue is not always whether someone has been convicted. Sometimes, alleged associations and security concerns are enough to create serious travel consequences. This is why his case is such a strong #1. Unlike some names on this list, Fury's American connection is commercially massive. The United States is central to elite boxing. Las Vegas, New York, pay-per-view, promoters, sponsors, and mega fights. A U.S. entry issue can affect not only reputation, but business. His story also carries a dramatic irony. Tyson Fury made his name by overcoming opponents in the ring. But at the border, there is no referee, no crowd, and no championship belt that guarantees entry. There is only a decision, yes or no. So there you have it, 15 British names who discovered that fame does not automatically open America's doors. Some cases were temporary, some were lifted. Others left a much longer shadow. But every story proves the same thing. A hit song, a famous surname, a championship belt, or a television career can disappear the moment immigration says no. Which case shocked you the most? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe for more celebrity stories that sound almost too strange to be real.